Salam. Peace and hotel. Spirits already jumping all over the place. Law Moors. We're here for Canaanland Moors class. Regular Tuesday session. We have today is the 5th of August. So we're making moves. It's been warp speed as of late. It's been super warp speed as of late. But you know what I mean? We're gonna keep it moving because it's just gotta keep moving. Right? We don't have any options right now but to keep it moving. Right? It's imperative that we keep it moving. Today's classes, you can't say that you weren't told. Right? You can't say that you weren't told. And we have come to a place, we've come to a place where everything that Noble Drew Ali envisioned, everything that Noble Drew Ali wanted to see for the Moors is actually manifesting, right? Because the Moors are beginning to think. The Moors are beginning to come into their own realization of who they are and what they're connected to. There's been a conscious effort to get our people to understand and recognize that civics must be a foundation of our activity, regardless of what school of thought that we come from, right? No matter the school of thought that we come from, right? The undertone of that school of thought has to be civics, right? And if you know, and this is the call out to all the conscious community, right? You can't tell me that what you've been doing is effective, because it appears that there's a misinterpretation of law, right? But when you check the records, you realize that all these individuals, and when we say conscious community, we're talking about, you know, whoever's for the liberation of people, because, you know, that term is so watered down now that everybody's in that, because by now everybody knows about what a Freemason is. Everybody knows about Atlantis. Everybody knows about weather modification, HARP, things like that, right? So conscious is vast now, right? Conscious isn't select few. So, you know, the cognizant people understand about the consciousness, right? And that jurisdiction or that realm, those individuals that belong to whatever it is that they belong to, know that civics is supposed to be the undertone. Civics is supposed to be the foundation in order to train the citizens of how society is supposed to be run, right? So when we look at the Moorish movement and people looking at the Moorish movement only from a religious perspective, that's why they want nothing to do with it, is wrong on the presenters, on the people who are putting that out or presenting the frame of mind, school of thought. And majority of time, they present the Moorish movement minus civics, right? And to teach about the Moorish movement minus civics is to go directly against Noble Drew Ali, right? Because Noble Drew Ali told the Moors themselves that they have a divine constitution and bylaws. And a constitution is a civic document. Forget the words that's on there. The fact that there's a constitution, quote unquote constitution, right? That means that there is a civic nature that is supposed to be displayed by the members or the quote unquote citizens of this association, organization, nation, etc. Right? And when you parallel all the different schools of thought with the Moorish movement, all of them had a constitution. And if all of them had a constitution, then why wasn't civics their undertone? Why weren't they speaking about things like how Moors talk about things? Right? Because your organization or association has a constitution. And go check. And all of them have it. Right? So law is supposed to be a standard. Us understanding law and knowing law is supposed to be a standard that we have. Just like we know science and math and everything else, law has to be included in that. Right? Because without including law, without having a guideline for the people to follow that makes them civic minded, their actions aren't going to be civic. Their actions are going to be beg and plead and pray and record stuff, and nobody step up and do anything. Right? And then when it comes to our own, there's, shooting and, what I mean, point blank. Dude run up on a guy, pop him in the face or whatever. Right? With his own. But real enemy doesn't get anything. So we have serious issues. And the reason why we have these issues is because we're not civic minded. We're wayward in our thinking. And Drew Ali told us, Drew Ali gave us all the remedy. He said we honor all divine prophets. Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, Jesus. Right? So there's some salvation there too. So we're going to go to our Buddhist friends, our family, right? The book called Cause and Effect, right? And just so you know how they get down. So when you see people say, "Oh, I put my hard-earned money and whatever like that," and they make DVDs and stuff like that, right? And then people are going to be realizing that, oh wow, this DVD is something that people might gravitate to, and they might bootleg it, sell it for $1, $5, $50, whatever, right? Okay, and people want to go take the stuff back and tell them they can't bootleg and all this type of stuff, right? Notice, remember, everything's civic, right? Okay, so this is the Buddhist book, and on the back page, the Buddhist book, they have a notice. Okay, so Buddhism isn't just some religion. Buddhism isn't just some wear some beads, wrap yourself in a cloth, take some incense or whatever, put the dots on the head or whatever, burn the dots on the head, and do some rituals. That's not Buddhism, because right in their own stuff, they're saying that they have a notice in here. And a note, well, let's, again, right, since we have our tools right here, let's use the workshop of the mind. since we got it, we might as well make some use of it. So make sure all you new people, make sure you get your tools, your dictionaries, etc. First to maybe 5th edition, right? So that you can look things up that you thought you know what the meaning of something was. Because most stuff we don't know what the meaning of it is. And we go on assuming that we know what stuff is. So notice, information, the result of observation, whether by the senses or the mind, knowledge of the existence of a fact or state of affairs, the means of knowledge, knowledge of facts which would naturally lead to an honest and prudent person to make inquiry constitutes notice of everything with which inquiry pursued in good faith would disclose. In another sense, notice means information and advice or written warning in more or less formal shape intended to apprise a person of some proceeding in which his interests are involved, or informing him of some fact which is his right to know and the duty of the notifying party to communicate. We'll run that one again. Okay? So all this is under definition of notice. Black's Law Dictionary, page 1210, 4th edition. In another sense, notice means information and advice or written warning in more or less formal shape intended to apprise a person of some proceeding in which his interests are involved, or informing him of some fact which it is his right to know and the duty of the notifying party to communicate. Okay? So that is trustee relationship. That is the transmitter receiver. That is Moor science, which is why Noble Drew Ali told the Moors to recognize that Buddha's a prophet too, and go check what he brought for the Moors. Because remember, once you add melanin to anything, it's enhanced. Like, enhanced beyond comprehension. Right? And this is how we put all these pieces back together so we can present something to our people that they can't even argue. Because every little rat hole they try to run out of is propped up or stopped up. No running over there. We have to deal with the truth right now. Right? So notice, the publication of this book is the result of the contribution of money and effort by a group of Buddhist friends. Their purpose is to create wholesome affinity with the public. Therefore, nobody is allowed to sell this book, thereby creating unwholesome karma for himself. Right? Now, this is a notice. Right? When you hear people talk about you know, you're not able to copy this DVD section 18 of the and all that stuff, that's a notice, right? So everybody's dealing with this undercurrent of civics, except Negro, black, colored people, and they want to know why stuff is how it is for them. You can't say that you weren't told, right? And not even because ignorance of the law is no excuse. But if someone is a thinking, living, breathing being, they're supposed to have common sense. And if they don't have common sense, they have problems that they need to fix as soon as possible, or they will be eliminated like everything else that doesn't want to get in line with what's going on right now. And what's going on right now is there's coming together, there's a unification, there's a bonding of everything that exists to make man get to his higher self. Everything's coming together right now. And when it all comes together, that's going to be called Moor science, and everybody's going to be gravitating as Moors. Remember I told you right now, right? Know that that's what's happening. So either you get down with it, start now, or don't even worry about continue on that road over there, right? Because this is not no savior stuff and all that. There's a light over here that you're going to see and come running, right? Either you're Moor because that's your birthright and nobody's going to tell you anything that's going to move you from that, or you're a zombie coming out of, or a zombie being exercised, right? You're not fully a zombie, but you're a zombie being exercised. And that exorcism has to happen with you. There's nobody coming with no bucket of water to dump on you to get the spirit out. You better figure it out, right? Because it's the time of knowing right now. You can't say that you haven't been told, right? This is, and then what the, well, some of this is in different language, so I don't know if there's a date in here, but what you realize with literature, mystic literature, is that they're never dated, right? There might be a date of, oh yeah, somebody found this on this date, but mystic literature is not dated because when you put a date on it, you kill it, right? That's why you don't put dates, right? That's why they didn't have calendars, they just use the sun, because you kill it, kill time, right? So the cause and effect book by the Buddhists, who said that this is not supposed to be for sale, and they put a notice in their book, which we read in the law book, law dictionary, so we know that the term applies to law, not just what people think notice means to them. It's also a law term, right? Practicing giving increases fortune. Setting lives free begets longevity. One good thought transports us to heaven. One evil thought delivers us into hell. Cause and effect is just and fair, like yin and yang complementing each other. In our Saha world, there are jails. In the nether world, there is hell. Doing good or bad all come from you. Wait not when death is near to know its truth. And then they just got pages and pages of these little, let me show y'all what's up in here. So they put a picture to describe the whatever the writing is. Yes, sir. You said, you all right?
Yeah.
Right. So they put the picture just so that, you could have a visual, because some people are visual learners, and then they have the writing on the other side, right? So, before a person begins to do a good deed, and we had encouraged him to carry it out, this is called attaining blessings through encouragement. So before a person begins to do a good deed, and we had encouraged him or her to carry it out, this is called attaining blessings through encouragement. When a person is in the process of carrying out a good deed, and we supported and helped him out, this is called attaining blessings through charitable acts. Now remember, these are the Buddhists, right? I said nobody's not supposed to sell this. Okay, I don't know a year, I don't know where this came from. I think I found this at just somewhere, just something I see, and it was just colors, and I'm like, what the hell is this? And I just picked it up. Yeah, you know what I mean? The quote unquote. I just picked this up or whatever, right? So there was some questions. Let me just get some. Find myself a little bit right here. There were some questions that will, address just so we can get it out of the way because there was only 3 of them. Now Moors have to really appreciate what Noble Drew Ali has done for them so that they don't have to be going through madness, right? And people took it on themselves to say, you know what, we're not even going there, right? Our purpose is to completely destabilize, destroy anything that has to do with this man. And once we get him out the way, then we have some leeway. Because they knew that the time would come when the people would eventually get this. Right? Because it's, to people in quote-unquote secret society, everybody knows that the ancients are returning to reclaim everything. Right? That's esoteric information that everybody who's into esotericism is privy to. There's no argument that the ancients are coming back. Their problem is that they thought that, that this was some, myth, ancient tale of whatever, but like that time is right now. We're there right now. I mean, we're here right now. Right? So it's all about us exercising, and you're exercising based on your knowledge. And your knowledge is going to let you know whether you're there or not. Right? So one of the questions was with regard to the American Constitution, 1791, and Moors, when they're sending writs, that they're sending writs to the 12 justices and not the 12 judges, right? So we just wanted to put on the record, judge, an officer so named in his commission who presides in some court, a public officer appointed to preside and to administer the law in a court of justice, the chief member of a court, and charged with the control of proceedings and the decision of questions of law or discretion. A public officer who by virtue of his office is clothed with judicial authority. An officer authorized to function as or for judge in doing specific acts. The term is sometimes held to include all officers appointed to decide litigated questions while acting in that capacity, including justices of the peace and even jurors who are judges of the facts. Right? So in the definition of judge, we find out that the jury is a judge as well. Right? And the other word was justice. All right, so what we recognize is that the term judge has a definition, right? And then justice has, in common law, the title given in England to the judges of the King's Bench and the Common Pleas, and in America to the judges of the Supreme Court of the United States and of the appellate courts of many of the states. It is said that the word in its Latin form, justitia, was properly applicable only to the judges of common law courts, while the term judex designated the judges of ecclesiastical and other courts. The same title is also applied to some of the judicial officers of the lowest rank and jurisdiction, such as police justices and justices of the peace, right? Which is what they use here as the authority
but that's the
for whatever. But that's the
lowest level of administration.
That's the lowest level
like
of judicial office, right? And they're only saying judicial because it's a disguise, right? Lowest rank is police, justice, of peace. A term used in the United States and England to designate judicial officers and magistrates of every grade. Okay? So what we are what we are somewhat enveloped in is this concept or this idea of trading places, right? Like trading places has become a reality because right now there's people that sit on a bench, they call themselves justice of the peace, but they say that they have authority, right? But a justice of the peace has, subordinate jurisdiction, right? Then they're saying that the justice is really a judge, right? So if a justice is a judge, then it doesn't matter which one of them that you send your stuff to. You should send it to both of them. And we shouldn't distinguish. We shouldn't distinguish a higher authority and a lower authority. Why? Because they're colored. That's some European corporation people. It don't matter whether they call themselves judges, justices, justices of the peace. They got the green sash, red sash, or whatever. Like, it's all. That's all our stuff that they're exercising as. And when we engage them, just like when we say somebody's sending you a writ, right? So they send you something saying, this corporation is coming at you for whatever. And then our position is reply, right? And say, oh, well, whatever, and start talking about stuff. Opposed to challenging this corporation that sending me something that's not signed by anybody. You know what I mean? It's coming from a corporation to you, saying you owe something. All the corporation is telling you that, shouldn't somebody be working for the corporation telling you that you owe something? Right? So So with the judges, they're playing a game. Because remember, they've been bankrupt since 1929, and we keep getting in this. What was the movie with freaking Bill Murray and they kept going over again? Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day.
Right? Yes. We're in this Groundhog Day. Over and over again, same stuff, same situation, same stuff. Why is this happening? Why is this going on? Cause, like we told you guys last week, what Dirty Moors did to the Moorish movement by not teaching civics, right? What Dirty Moors did to the movement by not teaching civics, right? Even though the founders of whatever study from or say that they belong to, they knew civics. And they put it in the writings that they gave to these people who we see today that are promoting some school of thought that's better than everybody else's. When you go check the records of their people that founded that, they were teaching civics back then. Right? Don't want to pass it on. Because that's the key. Right? The key is knowing the law, because the law comes from our ancient foremothers and forefathers, not the white man. White man doesn't have nothing to do with law. What's white man have to do with law? That somebody who's supposed to, they say that they're conscious people, right? Saying that a white man, who they say came out of the caves or whatever, didn't know nothing and all that type of stuff, cracker and
this guy created law.
This guy created law.
So came up with the concept.
That guy, I thought he came out of slave shipping and all that. Yeah,
Clubs the white,
right?
so he drags
All
them.
that stuff, right? That guy created law. That's why they don't want to deal with law. Are you serious? That's your reasoning behind not dealing with law? You know? You open it. Put this font over there.
Oh, okay.
Right? So the 12, the justices and the justice and the judges, right? Whoever it is in that jurisdiction that you're dealing with should get something, right? Now, what we're doing now, or the activity that's taking place right now, is that you utilize the email to send your stuff as well, right? Because it's less costly, it's free. So whatever, whether they get it, don't get it, whatever, you have a record that you sent it, right? But you're attaching that to the fact that you did send something certified mail, right? And not just to the judges or justices or prosecutor or DA or your attorney or, you know, court clerk in that jurisdiction only. You're sending it outside that jurisdiction as well, right? Provost marshal, um, Interpol, um, send it to the Hague. Because remember, it's not a suit. It's just like the Buddhist said, notice. You're just putting them on notice.
You're allowed to give notice to anyone.
To anybody.
As many people as you want. Yeah.
Because it's just a notice.
Just
you know, there's nothing against you. You know what I mean? The names of whoever it belongs to is in there. But I'm just putting you on notice. Because we have to be civic minded in our approach. Right? And once we're civic minded in our approach, then we will be able to get some remedies, right? And the people who are civic minded in their approach, you know, honors in Islam to y'all, right? The fight that you get isn't because you're wrong or you did something bad or whatever. It's because they've been bankrupt since 1933 and you know about it. And you're challenging them on that position. And that is not the position that they want to be in. That you're challenging them.
You're exposing them.
You're challenging them, right? What? 80 years? Right? 90 years later? You're challenging them on their bankrupt? Why are they even asking you to pay back a student loan? They're bankrupt and insolvent.
If you're bankrupt, how you lending?
And dissolved.
How you lending money if you're bankrupt?
How they lending money if they're bankrupt?
And don't want to ask for the money back.
Right? And did they give you money? Right? So all these little things are, you know, quote unquote arguments that you would put in your writs, regardless of what you're dealing with, right? Because there's everything kind of is stitched into everything else with the appearance that it's not stitched to everything else. So we think that, you know, we can't do this for those guys. Or, you know, if somebody comes, like somebody would put out a writ, right? And another agency hit them, and then, you know, they get stuck in, you know, how do I deal with them? You know, it's a different situation. It's the exact same thing. Writ of discovery, who are you?
Writ of discovery,
like, you know what I mean? What's your delegation of authority, right? If they're asking you for money, how come you're sending me stuff not signed asking for money, right? That's what a bill is, right? And you send these things out to whoever sent it to you, right? So after you write your writ, oh yeah, don't forget, let's just back up to the beginning again before we even talk about sending out stuff, right? If there's any Negro, black, colored people watching this, this doesn't apply to you as far as you sending out letters to people relative to the subject matter that we're talking about, right? This information does not apply to you. This information only applies to people with a nationality, right? Only applies to people with a nationality who are civic-minded, period, right? So when you send out these writs to these collection people or, you know, whoever. And remember that when you send out a writ to someone, go back, check the record, go watch, go listen to Civil Alert Radio, Blog Talk, The Power of Writs, right? Brother Fontes was on that show. Go listen to Sisters Standing on Law, Moorish Heritage and History School. So blogtalkradio.com, MHHS, Moorish Heritage and History School, Eyes Wide Open. Their Sisters Standing on Law shows deal with a lot of that subject matter as well, right? Because these like we're doing things in the past tense. Like we're not supposed to be on writs right now. Like if we're saying we're Moors, right, and it's 2014, right, we're not supposed to be on writs right now. We've been past writs. 1918 or something like that. We're supposed to learn about writs, done past writs, already sued these people. Everybody has class action, all shoot, bam, 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 right? And because that's just following up on the Washita, Henry Turner, right, versus who's directly related to Noble Drew Ali, right? But nah, some people didn't want to go that route. They said that they want to side with this guy and, you know what I mean, try to get payouts in fiat when it was time for them to go. They have no collateral. If you have no collateral and you say you're the government, you're occupying government, right? So they identify themselves as an occupying force, right? They identify themselves as colonizers. They say they came over here, killed Indians and stuff like that. All right. You did all that, and then you set up a government with permission of the actual heirs of the land or whatever to do whatever, right? Some of them were mad, didn't want it to happen, but whatever, it happened, right? So this thing happened. You have this union of indigenous people and foreigners living in the land of the indigenous people, right? And then they say, we are going to form a more perfect union or whatever like that, talking about just themselves, the Europeans. Because the indigenous people, they already have their government over here. They don't care about what these guys are doing. They already have their own stuff to run, right? And why did they have their own stuff to run? Because there was turmoil in their stuff. That's the whole reason why, you know, the white buffalo, you know, story coming across the rivers and all that stuff and whatever. And then you're supposed to use the buffalo, right, as your tool, right? Because there ain't no buffaloes around right now. And this white buffalo came out of nowhere, right? You know? And then, you know, and there's different levels of the story where, you know, white buffalo came and pillaged everything and ate everything and disturbed everything that was harmonious to nature and whatever, right? So there's two sides at play, right? So there was individuals who recognized that, well, we're going to have to be here with these people, right? For a minute because, you know what I mean? Or, you know, forget it, throw in the towel because it's all over and whatever, right? They formed this union. And in this union, there was infiltration on their side, right? And the infiltration on their side led to and leads to all the so-called presidents of that so-called government of the Europeans, right? The relations that they had, that they made in order to be where they were getting thin, right? Because they were given a portion of time to do what they were doing. This is not something that they could just do
At
just
your
because they
discretion.
want to just do
Yeah.
it when they have
When
they have a
feel-
limit of time. They have a window.
There's a lease on your time.
There's a lease on your time, right? And when that lease was up, the actual heirs are now supposed to just step into the thing, take over everything, which is what was done with Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Garvey. Because remember, Noble Drew Ali was 1913, Marcus Garvey was 1914. It's in the records, right? So if we want to put a claim on it, Drew Ali still has the claim on it because he was before Marcus Garvey, right? Now, because remember, all this is relative to the whole point about sending writs. You know what I mean? How come they don't recognize writs? And why aren't they whatever? Because we've been supposed to be past writs. We're just talking about writs now because people are waking up more than they were back then. But why weren't they waking up back then? Because people weren't putting out no information for people to wake up. People were putting out information to chase people from Noble Drew Ali. People were putting out information to make people think that this year, what do you mean? You know, like think about this from somebody outside of North America, right? That they hear of this miraculous work from all these different, congressmen, what I mean, Muslim professors, whatever, about this man in, North America doing this work, you know what I mean, about solving the Negro problem. And he's actually doing some work because, they have like millions of members or whatever like that, right? And he dies, and then the next thing that happens is everybody's claiming to be the dead guy because he reincarnated in them. 4 guys he reincarnated into. So the dirty Moors couldn't get together and say, okay, let's pick one guy, right, to be the reincarnated guy, right, so that when we put out the reincarnation, we can have some validity in our going forward with this fraud that European already paid us to do. But puppets and drones, they don't think, they just do what Master said, right? So and you know that all these were individual agents, right? So all these individual agents, they send into the movement, and then all of them are talking a different thing, right? When the typical good cop, bad cop, tell this guy one thing, tell this guy the next thing, this guy's ratting on this guy about everything, right? So we're supposed to be, the fact that we're here right now talking about writs and all that stuff is good, but it's not really good because European knows too that we're supposed to be back past writs and sending them writs. You know what I mean? Why do you think they're complaining about writs and stuff like that? They're not supposed to be backed up with writs right now. That's not even their job. That's supposed to be Moors. That's supposed to be our courts and stuff right there. That's all stuff we're supposed to take over. That's why we have a divine constitution. That's why we have the back of the 101, right? Which the back of the 101, which has the date of so-called Moorish Americans' independence, right? Moorish Americans' independence that they celebrate, that they got a sealed proclamation from the city of Philadelphia recognizing their independence, our independence, Asiatics' independence as Moorish Americans, right? If you have a celebration for being independent, that had to have been declared somewhere, right? The Declaration of Independence is that our authority affidavit. That is the declaration of the Moorish American independence. And that was 1920 something. So if we've been back since 1920 something, right? And we're still here today, 2014, talking about writs and getting abused by colonizers and whatever. Something went down that we need to deal with. because this is going to be the repetitive theme if we don't deal with this issue, right? And you know, active Moors take the approach of put out the information, give it to the people, so we can speed people up, because people need to be sped up to speed with what's going on and where they're supposed to be in their frame of mind. That's why the classes are 2 hours and stuff like that. That's why you're gonna sit on Blog Talk until 12:30 in the night and whatever like that. Because that's how far behind we are. And all Moors should be doing that. Not for, you know, like Moors take the approach of some Moors take the approach of, I'm gonna put this out and I want Moors to support it. Right? You're putting it out so that other people can support it. Because that's who need it. Moors don't need it. Moors don't need these classes that I'm doing right here. They sit in on them because, you know, right? But they don't need these. They're studying and stuff like that. Just buy a little break for the day. You know, yeah, let me go watch Kudro and see what's up on, you know what I mean? What he's going to talk about today. Right? But they're not on this like that. These things are for the people who have no knowledge of this, and they're getting sparked like, oh, what are you talking?
Some
Oh my God, dictionaries and what is, right? You know, what do you mean I'm not black and all that type of stuff, right? You know what I mean? So, you know, it's there's levels. You know what I mean? And certain people aren't, you know, it's the rays of the sun in the Moorish movement. You know what I mean? Right? And every ray diverted, somebody needs. You know what I mean? Every ray diverted. You know what I mean? So, you know, with things like writs and stuff like that, you know, the concept is that if you have to ask about it, you ain't ready to be sending nothing. Because it's supposed to be something that is just like, oh. That's how you write a writ. If you gotta, and all that stuff, don't even talk about writing no writs. Slow down a little bit, right? We know that this is like overwhelmingly amazing, and it's going in so many different races at such a different, like the speed is like, it's, you know what I mean? Like your freaking favorite video game or whatever, right? But this is not no Grand Theft Auto. They will choke you out on the corner out here. Like it's real out here. They will put the knee on your neck back. They will, right? They will. Because their time's been up since 1933 and you're waking up. Not just that you're waking up. You're there. You know what they say, fear of a black planet. Everybody fear no black planet and all that stuff. Right? They fear the Moorish planet. They fear you wake up, realize that you're a Moor, and not only realize that you're a Moor, that these people that you've been dealing with, calling them government, they've been bankrupt since 1929. And pretending to be something that they're not. And we've been falling for it because of fake ass leaders. Right? Oh yeah, just fake ass leaders, just so we get, just plug the book, right? Noble Drawley, Plenipotentiaries, and the Negro Black Colored Addiction. Make sure you go get your copy, Khalifa Media, and we'll keep it moving. Since I mentioned Sellouts, you know, make sure we plug the book, right? I write commercials for everybody else's stuff. Let me do some commercials with my stuff. Right? Noble Drawley, Plenipotentiaries, right? And the Negro Black Colored Addiction.
What's the 10 notes on that? How many 10 notes?
Yeah, online 15 notes, in person 20 notes.
All right,
you know,
enough.
And then you know, if Spaceman comes, then he has to pull out some galactic funds for this. Right? We don't want no fiat from the Spaceman. Right? So write your writs. Do whatever it is that you have to do with regard to your birthright, because it's your birthright that they're taking. We can't. It's like there's so much work that has to be done, right? Like, you know, like people dealing with situations. right? You know, like real situations, right?
Real situation.
Real situations. And they're really dealing with it because they can't turn back once you get to a certain level in this, right? When you get to the level of realizing that you'll die for this, that you guys could kill me, I don't care, but you're not stealing my birthright, huh? Like,
Down to the end.
you're not stealing my birthright. You know what I mean? Drawley did too much work for you to come here stealing birthright in 2014. You guys bankrupt since 1929.
You still want to come back.
You still want to come back right now? No different than these Moors from 2 years ago, talking trash, and now they're coming back again. You coming back again? You want more? You know what I mean? Like, there has to be a and that time, right? When they say, you know what, forget it. You know what I mean? Leave the Moors alone, whatever like that. You know, because that's already happened and been happening and is going to continue to go on. That's not nothing new of them giving Moors the pass, right? But if you act like you don't know, if you do stuff and they counter and you can't have a counter for their counter, then you shouldn't have did what you did in the first place to make them counter. Because it wasn't time yet. You rushed yourself into something. Because this is real, it's real in the field. When you start talking about nationality and birthrights, it is so real because you take away everything that's theirs. Like everything. Like you take away everything that's theirs. They don't like that. They can take your stuff though.
That's cool with them.
That's cool. Yeah. But
you can't be mad. You can be mad at who gives a shit about you. Whatever.
You can't take their stuff.
As long as I take your stuff, I don't care how you feel. Don't take mine.
Right? So Moors coming into this have to recognize, Moors even who are in this have to recognize that, yo, like, these dirty Moors messed up the shit real bad that we gotta try to fix or try to accommodate or whatever, because, you know, we're up against people who are gonna put you in a box and throw a key away and stuff like that. And let's keep you in there. Just because.
Yesterday on television, just randomly, the Winnie Mandela movie was on.
Yeah.
And then I caught it at the part where they took her and put her in a box.
Yeah.
They're just holding the woman. Just holding her. Just holding her. No bath, you know what I mean? Bucket and shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Just there, in a box. That's it. Talking to an ant. Woman's in there talking to like...
Yeah. Try to stay sane, yo. Try to stay sane. Because remember, we are dealing with Spanish Inquisition. Right? We're dealing with Spanish Inquisition, I'm saying. Right? We're dealing with Spanish Inquisition. We're dealing with Treaty of Verona. We're dealing with Treaty of Tordesillas. We're dealing with letters from the Queen about, you know, kick the blackamoors out of Europe and all this type of stuff. We're dealing with all these things. Right? That's what it is. You know? Like when you send a writ, right? Telling somebody, whoever is saying that they want whatever from you, and you send them a writ, you send them an affidavit of fact, telling them, making demands on them, because you're Moorish American and this is your birthright to do that, because you're in propria persona, not pro se. They know all that stuff. They know exactly what angle you're coming from. They know exactly what you mean, even though they pretend like they don't know. They know exactly what you're saying, right? And you know when they say hitting below the belt, right? That's what they're looking at that as, because we weren't supposed to know. We weren't supposed to have this idea of, you know, somebody send you a letter, send a writ. What do you mean pay? What do you mean send, whether it's fiat, gold, silver, whatever? Like, why am I sending you something? Who the
Let's
hell are
first
you?
negotiate why.
Yeah, like, why do I have to send you
I
something?
why do you think I need to give you whatever you want?
I'm just gonna give it up like that? Just because you say so? You know? But again, by getting our people to not be civic minded, you know, they don't even know what the hell to look for. Right? To know that somebody's gaming them. They don't even know what to look for. They have no idea. Right? So, well, I just wanted to put on the record. I think we put it on the record already, but we want to do it again because people don't want to get it. Want to play around like, you know, what the Moors are saying is nonsense or whatever. When everybody's been on this, been telling these people, right, for how long? So this is for all the Rastafarians out there, because you're supposed to be civic minded according to your stuff right here. I'll show you soon, so you can go back up all the Rastafarians who's telling you about whatever. Well, they're not Moors and all that type of stuff like that, right? So this is black supremacy in righteousness of salvation. Jesus, Negus Christ, Emmanuel I Selassie I Jah Rastafari, and Royal Majesty Selassie I the First, Jehovah Jah Rastafari. Right? And this is the Rastafarian or the Boa Shanti book of black supremacy. This is their code or whatever, right? It's their code.
And it's numbered as well. Stuff's numbered in there as well.
Yeah. So this is from a writing by, let's get some props up there. Prince Emmanuel, right? This is a writing by him, and he's, you know, who the Rastafarian order sees as the man. He's the high priest. Like he's the one that if anybody could make it happen, yo, this brother will make it happen, right? Which he did.
He'll do some.
Yeah.
He'll go to the garden. He'll do some. He'll do his thing.
Which he did, right? So we'll start at page 54. Remember, this is a Rastafarian, right? And then you could just, you know, you could just go online and just Google Charles Edwards, and then it's gonna come up Emmanuel, Prince Emmanuel, or Emmanuel I, or Emmanuel the Lord's servant, or Black Moses, or whatever, but Prince Emmanuel, right? I, Prince Emmanuel, would like the United Nations to call upon the Prime Minister to participate in this international matter of we the suffering masses of people of such crisis coming through Universal Declaration of Human Rights Charter. I am asking the United Nations kindly to see all problems come through and all are to come through the Geneva and United Nations General Assembly. Also, Her Majesty the Queen must be here in this conference of human justice. I, Prince Emmanuel, would like to say free equality and justice with Article 15. Right? And then Article 15 of the Declaration of Human Rights, because you put it in the, right?
Put it in
so everybody knows, right?
documentation.
Article 15, everyone has the right to a nationality. No one shall be arbitrarily deprived of his nationality, nor denied the right to change his nationality. Right? It's Rastafarian.
That's
Okay?
what he's referencing.
This is what he's referencing in his writing to the United Nations. The Right Honorable Prime Minister must come to a final decision of their constitutional right. We the people, right, and international rights, freedom of movement, international repatriation, freedom of traveling, free waterway through the seabed, international repatriation back to Africa, Black Jerusalem, under our own vine and fig tree, with 7 or 9 miles of Black Star Liner ships internationally. I am calling upon all heads of government internationally, also European world, Black Africa world internationally, and this Jamaican government. All people are to be delivered unto I, Prince Emmanuel's hands, and to free all states such as Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone, Mozambique, and others. The bridge of international principles must bring forth freedom. We want freedom. Give freedom the people, give people the freedom of repatriation. Lift up your head, our redemption draweth near, under the Declaration of Human Rights. So he's putting it out there to them, right? International Congress as a spiritual union for all who desire to take part in this Congress. Freedom, redemption, repatriation under our own vine and fig tree. Colonialism and Britanism coming from the imperial world. Social imperialism spoils the world. Speaking of the black nation, of people of old with other nations, the teachment of the white world come as a cancer in the black world, leading to brutal forms. Prophecy and history of the black nation of old show their strategy the white world has used on us. They teach us to hate our black self. All nations teach us to hate our black self, but they never teach us to love our black self, to live as a nation of people. Churchill said it would take us 2,000 years to get out of this teachment, which could not help us nor take us anywhere. For the black nation, salvation is the foundation of free liberty, to himself with a free heart of love. Our imperial majesty, the God of the whole earth, the world's greatest monarch, King of Judah, Jesus is God, showing the nationwide to find back to love unity amongst ourselves. Come out of the white world setting and take up a black world setting that was there before slavery took root. Right? It was there before slavery took root. Okay? The strategy of the white world of imperialism set themselves to live in black Africa, while the Africans abroad cannot return to their native land. International repatriation now, universally. We are calling upon Jamaica's youth of today to stop the war and get right in themselves, in one unity of peace and love. Nothing too bad that can't come good. Stop the folly before we reach to it. United we stand. To take another man's strategy, which can't help us, would come away. Don't go to no man for help except that man who says he will free you. Whoever that ruling power is in the country, and to come to one unity of salvation with a free heart of love. I, Prince Emmanuel, open any international reasoning. Anyone has any questions to ask from any group, they are free. Anyone who desires one black heart of righteousness in the black Christ is free. The black Christ, the Father who sent him, is greater than him, Jesus. We, the priests, prophets, disciples, apostles, are one, none higher than the other. Principles and dignity of black supremacy, the fatherhood of God, the brotherhood and the daughterhood of God, freedom for all. These are the articles from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Right? So, in the essence of civic teachings, right? With the essence of civic teachings being in these lessons of the head priest, the highest priest of the Rastafarian order. And he's telling them about United Nations Declaration of Rights and all that.
Nationality.
Right? Talking about nationality. Yeah, they're talking black stuff or whatever, but at least they're talking nationality.
Right? Yeah.
Right, and that's what the difference is.
Mm-hmm. You change
right?
that word black to Moor.
Right? Yeah.
What he said.
Simple as that. Change that word black to Moor, and that's a whole different speech. But because he goes on there and there to say that his nationality is black African and all this type of stuff. Right? Which is a fraud. And you know, taking the approach of I'm standing up for nationality, I'm a black whatever, and then the European abusing you. It's not because the European is evil. Right? Because we're calling ourselves the wrong thing in what our speech is saying. Our speech is saying civic minded, but our actions are nigger. That's a conflict immediately, and they recognize those conflicts there. And once they recognize those conflicts, then you know what I mean. It's like with the new video that Sonetta put up, psychological effects of slavery or whatever, right? So they have these pictures. They have a picture of Garvey, a picture of Jesus, and a picture of Malcolm X. And they're doing a survey to, asking the people, who made a better impact in your life or whatever, right? And everybody's coming up, Jesus, he's my Lord and Savior or whatever like that, So it's like, a social experiment or whatever, you know what I mean? So in the end now, Hebrew Israelite guy comes on, right? He's like, well, I don't respect none of them or whatever, right? Well, you got to pick one or whatever. Well, and then he goes on into this whole thing about, how, Malcolm was taught that he's Israelite, but he didn't say that he's Israelite, so that's why I don't respect him. And then Garvey was taught by Israelites, right? And he was taught, but he didn't carry on the teachings, so that's why I don't respect him or whatever, right? When if there were any Israelites during the time of Noble Drew Ali and Marcus Garvey and whoever else, they were Moors. They were Moorish Jews. Everybody knows that they were called Moorish Jews. So how's this guy going to come out now, right, and talk about Garvey learned from Israelites or whatever, when the people who Garvey learned from called themselves Moorish Jews? They never called themselves no Israelites. That wasn't what their demonstration was, that we're Israelites. Find me the Jews during 1920s in Harlem who these guys are repping or whatever that had a sign that said Israelite on it. Find me a book that they had on the front that said Israelite on it. Find me some picture online or whatever that says that those people back then, right, called themselves Hebrew Israelites. That's not going to be found because those people are Moorish Jews. And why are they Moorish Jews? Because one of their highest scholars, right? We'll just show them, in my book. I just finished. So I like to plug people's stuff, right? Arnold Josiah Ford was a member and figurehead in the Moorish Zionist Temple, as well as the UNIA and MSTA. He also had strong relationship with Noble Drew Ali, as evidenced by Noble Drew Ali quoting him in the Industrious Acts of the Moors. The primitive colors alone were used, says Ford, by Egyptians, Greeks, and Arabs in the early period of art, and they prevail in the Alhambra wherever the artist has been Arabic or Moorish. So there's some of the people right there. Arnold Josiah Ford, one of them, worked with Marcus Garvey, and you can see right there on his turban that he's Moorish. You ain't no Hebrew Israelite. You're not, pulling those ones. Moorish Zionists, right? And then don't forget that's in the new book, Noble Drew Ali, Plenipotentiaries, and the Negro Black Color Addiction. So these people have been told, right, that they're Moors. Hebrew Israelites have been told that they're Moors. You should stone them too. Right? They already got their share. They already got their share. right? This is the one I was talking about, Brother Rami. If you want to get something on Deuce Muhammad Ali, who also worked with Marcus Garvey, but you know, they're not going to talk about Deuce Muhammad Ali and all that. You know, they're trying to bury him too, right? Because people don't want to give the Moors the respect that is due for keeping civics and keeping high levels of thinking amongst the Asiatics in America. But they don't want to give the Moors that credit. They want to give everybody else credit and call the Moors, you know, bucket hats and stuff like that, right? When the Moors are the ones that did it all as far as these Negroes out here knowing anything, right? Why? Because all of them decided that, you know, it's a good idea for us to, you know, segregated schools and all this stuff and segregated this and segregated that and realized that that was a fraud because you can't really segregate yourself from your children, right? So, but they don't want to admit that the Europeans are their children because then if they admit that, then they're going to admit that they're the Muslims and the Europeans are the Mason's sons. And then if you know that the Europeans Mason's son, then obviously you have to be in that order, right? And all these individuals know what's up. The Al Sharptons, oh yeah, it's just, you know, Brother Satan Rabe was up here on the weekend, right? You know, just chilling, come check the Moors. And we're talking about, we're going to go pull up this picture, right? Let's talk about sellouts for a second. So we're going to go pull up this picture right here, the balcony picture, right? Now, this is what me and Satan Rabe and Brother Omar were building about. Look at the facial reactions, right? Look at the grip that he has on that banister right there. Okay? And these are two of the key players in the assassination plot against King, right? And tell me if that face isn't the face of somebody who knows he's about to get it. While everybody around him is laughing. Right? That's not no face of, you know, let's go win something or let's go march somewhere or whatever. No. Actually, let's just read a little excerpt since we're here. Page 43. Overnight, Jesse Jackson became a nationally known figure of the civil rights movement. King's wound produced a huge amount of blood, and after the ambulance took away his body, all that was left was a huge pool of King's blood. Ralph Abernathy, Abernathy, is in a state of shock, grabbed a jar and started scraping up the blood, crying how it was King's blood and it was precious. This blood was shed for us. Jesse Jackson, also still in shock, had by this time made his way to the balcony from where he was hiding down by the pool. Andrew Young remembers seeing Jackson dip his hands in the huge pool of blood, and after raising them to the sky, wiping them on his shirt. People freaked out and did strange things. It was, I mean, what do you do in a moment like that? The main players of the SCLC quickly followed King to the hospital, leaving Jesse Jackson behind in shock. However, it was the tragedy of King's death that the star of Jesse Jackson was born. Media quickly swarmed the hotel where King had been shot, and they quickly focused on the young SCLC member with King's blood all over his shirt. With the rest of the SCLC off at the hospital, Jesse became the media spokesman. And that's Dean Lucas, Martin Luther King killed. You already know they've been playing with their people. And people don't want to recognize what the hell's up. Just remember, you're going to go also out and get African-Centered Consciousness versus the New World Order by Amos Wilson. And you're going to get this because Amos Wilson was a nationalist. He might have said term black and stuff like that and whatever, right? But he was a nationalist. So you're going to study the great Dr. Amos Wilson, okay? Now, like we were saying, right? Your Declaration of Independence is on the back of your 101 questionnaire, right? This is your Declaration of the Independence, okay? And because we had a Declaration of Independence, we had a divine constitution and bylaws, because those are documents of nations that go hand in hand. Right? The other thing that we want to bring up with regard to writs, right? We, as Moors coming into ourselves, as Moors coming into the realization of our true self, our higher self, our divine self, etc. We have to start. We have to start evolving at 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 a quicker pace with regard to the activity that we do, right? So if you have been in a situation of, let's use with the question, right? Somebody sends you a letter, right? Demanding something of you. Whatever the demand is, it's irrelevant, right? They're bringing a letter demanding something of you, right? Immediately, we have to recognize, one, that individual that's given that letter is corporate. Not only are they corporate, they're foreign to this jurisdiction, right? Not only are they foreign, right, and corporate with regard to the jurisdiction that we're in, they have been involved in unlawful activity for decades, right? No different than you know, go downstairs to get some water or whatever, and guy with a gun's in your house, right? You're not gonna do nothing rash or stupid, right? You're gonna make sure that you think, right? Because there's a threat, right? And you know, Kung Fu Master might not think that way, right? Because there's all these different layers, right? So you have to know for yourself that you know of what a Moor is, and what a writ is, and what a constitution is, and what a Declaration of Independence is, and whatever it is that that Moor science engulfs. What a flag is, what a 5-point star is, what an angle is, what length is, what width is. Like, we have to evolve at a snap's pace now, right? Especially the Moors who are studying. And remember that our duty, our call, is uplifting fallen humanity. That is our call. Our call is uplifting fallen humanity, right? The things that we're dealing with that happen that happen in our life, that are connected to us exercising our Moorish nationality and birthright, right? The things that are that cause us to have to do that, right, are not things because of their immediate threat. It's things because of decades. It's things that we're born into this madness, this mess. And being that we're born into it, right, we have to study because there's already a template behind us that we can use, right, to know what we should do, what we shouldn't do. And you know, like big up to Brother Seton Rabe again, because he brought me a DVD on the weekend, and you know, we're talking about really exercising what Noble Drew Ali said as far as going back to the ancient foremothers and forefathers mindset, right? Completely changing our mindset from where we think it is and that we know something, right? Which we do, but we have to expand that. We have to evolve with that as well, because there's deeper information that we're supposed to retrieve from within ourselves, not even out there in books and stuff like that. There's deeper information like that we have to get within ourselves. That's like what Sister Pilar was saying about, you know, putting the glass of water outside so the sun rays from 8 million years ago could go into your water, right? Like, we have to go that deep into our own self in order to pull out the best in us, because we Moors, like Moors that are active in 2014, Moors that found out about nationality and birthrights or whatever, like, you have to applaud yourself. Like, you have to applaud yourself. Do you know what Dirty Moors did? Like, that you weren't supposed to find out about this stuff? Knowing about birthright? Thinking that you're going to send some people a writ instead of cussing them off on the phone or whatever like that? Right? Like, that's whoever. If you know who Noble Drew Ali is, who Moors are, what, you know, aspect, you know, different aspects of law or whatever like that, regardless of the level, once you know about that and you have some conviction in that, you have to applaud yourself. Because you are supposed to have no interest in law and civics and constitutions and things of that nature. It wasn't even supposed to be anything that you would even consider looking at, just like it used to be at one time, right? But something happened, right? Something deep within happened that allowed us to be on the level where we can say, hold on a second, nationality and birthrights is an actual real thing. Without even studying it, you know that there's something different with regard to this, you know, school of thought, frame of mind, whatever you want to identify it. This takes you into a different part of your existence that you never tapped into before. You know, it takes you to a level where you recognize more stuff when you read newspaper, or you put on the news, or you whatever. There's something different about the frequency that, you know, is around you, the frequency that you transmit, you know, the frequency that you exude, who you are becoming. The more you study, the more you realize that you don't know shit, and that you could actually know more than you already know, and you actually get excited about that. Like, that's an amazing feat to be at that level, because these so-called colonizers, right, foreigners, um, um, like agent provocateur niggers, didn't want our people to even have a sliver of civics, on their dial plate, right? But always remember that the people that you're listening to today aren't the founding fathers of whatever it is that you say that you belong to. And you need to go back and check some of the founding fathers' literature. Because when you check the founding fathers' literature and you digest what a lot of the founding fathers said, you realize that they were teaching you about nationality and birthrights indirectly. They were straight teaching you about nationality and birthrights. And the people have taken a position of following these losers, right? Getting themselves trapped up in stuff. And then, you know, dissing the school of thought. When it wasn't the school of thought, there's nothing to you. It was that nigga that you were following. Right? Who, you know, like you guys who know about, you know, like we put this out there already, but we're going to put it out there again just because, you know, people like to show, you know, people like to show that, you know, there's unity and, you know what I mean, all that stuff, right? So we'll go to Supreme Lessons, right? Remember this right here? This little 7. Remember this 7 that Jay Electronica had around him and stuff like that, and, you know, he got it from Jay-Z and all that, right? Okay. Right. This is their stuff. We already put this out there, but we'll put it out again just because, right? My name is W.F. Muhammad, descendant of the Quraysh tribe in Mecca, Saudi Arabia. Prophet sent to bring the knowledge of God of the lost found members of the tribe of Shabazz, born on February 26, 1877. Father's name is Alfonso, a black man. His mother was Baby D, a white-skinned woman. He taught the knowledge of God to the messenger of Allah, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I came to the wilderness of North America by myself. He implies he came as a free man of his own free will. His first appearance in 1910 is said to have come in contact with Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Temple of Islam. Okay? So the Nation of Gods and Earths know that the Moorish movement has been in existence since 1910, not 1913 like literature says. The Nation of Gods and Earths, right, are saying that Master Fard's first appearance, right, in the Americas was 1910 because he came in contact with Noble Drew Ali, right? But it continues on to say his second coming was in July 1930. So the Nation of Gods and Earths know that one, Fard Muhammad studied from Noble Drew Ali, and two, that after Noble Drew Ali died in 1929, that he was the second coming of the Prophet. Not Prophet Muhammad. Second coming of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. But remember, there's all these other Moors saying that they're second coming of Prophet Noble Drew Ali too. But he's the only one that went off and said that, no, I'm going to call this Nation of Islam. And didn't keep the tie to the Moorish Science Temple of America. And then they did that, and then they dropped the civics. And stopped talking about civics. And if they did talk about civics, it was in the, you know, supreme adept stuff in over there in the upstairs room with the light on above the door and all that stuff. When you can't enter because the light's on. Right? Playing those games with people's birthright that they were all taught. Like we said, there's an underlying tone. that people can't say they don't know. Because all these leaders been telling them about nationality and birthrights. Emmanuel even went down to print out the stuff, put the stuff in his thing, in his letter. Took the declarations off the declarations and put it in his letter. Right? To show these people that they have rights, that they can claim, and that they should claim them, because every man is, has a right to be free and equal. So Moors that have superior knowledge, which is Moor science, which is you not being in the mindset of Negro black colored, right? That means that you have an obligation to tell people who do not know. We have an obligation to do that. We have an obligation to tell people who do not know about this. What they do with it after we tell them, that's up to them. But they can't say that they weren't told. They can't say that they weren't put on notice. Once you get put on notice and you don't answer or you don't reply, you acquiesce or you default. Which is the same thing that goes on with these writs. That when you send writs to people and you make a demand of them to do something in a specified time and they don't do it, they default. Right? And when they default, then you have to default judgment them for defaulting. And then that's just another writ. Right? And with even with people who like question writs. Like when you start reading the writs as yours, like people don't take ownership of stuff. Like if you write a writ, if you say, Kudro, I need help with a writ, right? And then I send you a writ, and then you go online and you find a writ, and then you take all those stuff, whatever, and then you compile a writ for yourself. That's your writ. That's your personal writ. Why? Because, like we talk about, when you're putting these words together on paper, it's called spelling. And spelling is witchcraft and magic. So if you really want to write powerful writs, recognize what it is that you're dealing with. This is more science. You think swirling dervishes were just twirling around just because they knew how to twirl around and not get dizzy and fall over? There's vortexes they were opening. That was rituals that they were doing, to open vortexes, to get mystic information, to speak with the ancestors, to do whatever it is that they wanted to open in the vortex for. Right? Because this is Moorish science. This is not Moorish religion. Half the people out there who write writs, they don't claim them like a ritual. Right? Like this is no different than the mundane aspect of witchcraft. Draw a pentagram with the salt and whatever like that, and put the cherries in the middle of the eyes and make all that stuff is the same thing what we're doing, but we're just doing it on paper. And the only reason that we're doing it is because it hasn't been done, because these niggers stopped teaching people civics. So people didn't know about writing writs. So now we want to get people to write writs, but you have to understand that if you write a writ, you're making a claim. If you write a writ, you're actually like going in the cage and slapping the lion with the door closed behind you when you send a writ. Right? That's what you're doing. That's just what it is. It's nothing personal. It's nothing, but that's what it is. Don't get mad. Keep getting knowledge and put those dirty Moors that sold you out of your birthright on the wall and stone them to death because it's their fault. Right? Sorry, that's what it is. Right? Okay? If you write a writ, you're it. Because that's your writ. Right? And we already showed people, right? We had Sister Tafiri Bay with her situation, and we put that online to prove people that, writs do work. This is not like some, try something, see what happens. Writs work, right? But like I told the sister, this is your writ. Your energy and your frequency in that writ is what's gonna be the outcome. The energy that you go into writing the writ with, from the first thing that you put on the page, the energy that you put is what is going to be in that paper, because it's that real. It is that real, right? Because this is Moor science. And when Noble Drew Ali told the Moors that, you're it's a battle that's not going to be able to be told in words. You know what I mean? Because there's been the attempts, successive, some, you know what I mean? At continuing to keep the people dumbed down and away from civics, right? Repetitive, right? No civics, civil rights. No civics, some sovereign thing. No studying or whatever. Just file this paper. Don't, buy dictionaries because the white man brought that. Go to a debate. Like, there has to be a time when the people realize, right? Because they should have been realized by now. Especially when you got we talked about it in the Canaanland Moors Drew Ali Day lecture, right? With Afeni Shakur and her beating up 156 charges or whatever that they're trying to bring against Black Panthers or whatever like that, right? 156 charges, beat them up with law, showing people that knowing the law is, it's pertinent to their survival. We need to know law. If we don't know law, we're going to get it, right? And it's a message that we have to relate to our people because they think that, law doesn't apply to them. And it doesn't, because they want to be Negro, black, colored. Just for the simple fact that they want to be Negro, black, colored, right? Law doesn't apply to them. They have to know that, right? But how are they going to know if we don't tell them? If Moors who have this knowledge, Moors who are, like our brothers, right? Like our brothers, the publication of this book is the result of the contribution of money and an effort by a group of Buddhist friends, right? That's no different than Moors. Moors who are in territories where they realize that, ain't nothing going on here, ain't no temple, ain't no whatever, and you have to fend for yourself in your jurisdiction, right? Anything and everything that you do should be as the result of contribution of money and effort by a group of friends. And then you start there. Whether it's 2, which will go to 3 and 7 and 9 and whatever like that, or whether it's just 2 forever. We are 100 bailiffs as Moabites. So we have the numbers spiritually to do certain things, right? Our job is uplifting fallen humanity, right? Their purpose is to create wholesome affinity with the public, right? So to bring this union together, right? To bring this union together, right? amongst all these individuals who want to claim that they're something that they're not, and they don't know their identity or whatever, let's move away from the idea of trying to force these people and tell them that they're Moors. Well, you don't want to be Moors? Okay, study civics then. Let that be the unity that brings us together, that we're all civic minded, that we all know what a constitution is, that we all know that the Constitution didn't come from some white guys that came over here and they wanted to just start a government, and they came all the way to America just start a government with no authority from anybody. They just came over here, start a government, right? Let's get civic minded and push the perspective of civic minded as far as morals are concerned. Because we already got this. We got our birthright. We already know that, we're on the ark. We have a seat, right? Whoever doesn't have a seat, they better, help build something or work on building something or whatever, because, the boat's almost full. For real, right? When doors start rising up, people hanging off the door and stuff like that, trying to get in, you better have that upper body strength to put yourself over the door to jump on the stuff, right? You better have been training, okay? So since we already got this and we already know what's up, right? We're not, people talk about, yeah, well, dumb them down, see them on their level. We're not going to see nobody on their level. We're telling them get civic minded, right? Recognize that civics is all around you, right? How come, once again, Seton Rabbe, right, comes, give me a call, tell me he's downstairs or whatever, and I go downstairs, and what's he doing? He's taking a picture of a notice in the building. Why? Because he's civic minded. And as soon as civics is presented, it's something that you're going to consider. Because you're civic minded and you know that civics is the foundation of everything. Law is the foundation of everything. Jurisprudence is the foundation of everything. Right? Once you deal with that, once you accept that reality, that law governs all events for real. That's not, talk. The law governs all events. Right? Natural law, it might be universal law, astrological law, cosmological law, right? Whatever. That's what governs events, right? And like we were saying in the beginning, they're playing switcheroo, because how law governs all events for them is through contracts. That's why we tell people reserve your rights all the time, because at the end of that contract that you just signed, somewhere in some shelf somewhere, if you violate that contract, they're going to pull that stuff out and say that that's the law that you violated because of that contract, not because of some law that has, already been in existence, like universal law or natural law or common law or whatever. It's a law that they're going to go find and say you violated that, which is reason why we have to have a nationality, so that when they do try that crap there, we could stand up for it, because we know better as Moors. It's our people that don't know, right? Like, it's on a level where Moors have to realize that we don't owe anybody anything, favors and stuff like that, because they have a black event. We have to go support the black stuff. We don't support the black stuff. It doesn't work like that. It ain't working like that, right? If Moors are supporting the black stuff, the only reason that we're supporting the black stuff is to get some of them people to get out their black stuff into civic mindedness, right? That's the only reason we're there. We're not there to unite with the black stuff to go try get something from somebody. It ain't. There's nothing there to look at it from that perspective, right? And Moors have to understand this. We can't be begging just because they don't want to say that they're Moors, so we'll just go over there and niggas will get you locked up and stuff around here. Black, Negro, color people, they will talk yeah, everything's good. You know what I mean? I understand. You know, yeah, I have dictionaries at home. I have whatever like that. And then 2 seconds later, they're about to turn overseer and sell you to the state. Right? Because of their lack of civic mindedness. Because they can't stand up for the law. Right? When they get violated by somebody, right? They're gonna sell you out for them to get out of whatever lawful judgment, whatever it is, adjudication that they got themselves into by being nigger. Right? So we can't play the game of, you know, not putting this information out. We are obligated to let people know about their nationality and their birthrights. They have to know about their nationality and birthrights. And the only people that's going to really tell them is Moors. Right? Only Moors. Nobody else is going to tell these people about their nationality and their birthrights. Because majority of people want you to join their stuff. Majority of people want you to join up with their thing. And then when you join up with it, from the jump, we're telling you that you're going to realize it's not civic minded. They'll talk about metaphysics. They'll talk about, you know, crystals and Reiki and, you know, all these mystical teachings. They'll talk about history and they'll talk about, you know, psychological this and that or whatever, and no civics. Right? Go to all these so-called quote-unquote black bookstores that we got around here. They got books on everything, but nothing on law. How you got nothing on law? You have a bookstore. You have nothing on law in your bookstore, but you have everything else? And we're supposed to take that serious as Moors who know better? And when we put you onto game, you're going to tell us, no, that's not, no, we can't have, you know, nobody's not going to buy that. What do you mean nobody's not going to buy that? You got books on the shelf that nobody bought in 5 years. You still got those books. You still order those all the time. So what's the issue? Right? The people have been so tormented by color of law, right, that they think law is evil. Color of law has been used against them under the guise of law for so many decades that people think that what they're receiving as abuse under the guise of law is because of law. No, it's not because of law. It's because you're colored. So color of law applies to you. Oh, you're black? No, a color of law applies to you. Oh, you're African? A color of law applies to you. Oh, you don't know what color of law is? Well, you better go look that up and see what that is. Because that's how we get ourselves in the jurisdiction that we're complaining about. Because we are not civic minded. And if the people were civic minded, they would realize that there's de jure law and then there's color of law. And color of law is fake law. And if you call yourself black when you're brown, that means you're a fake person. So if you're a fake person, then color of law applies to you. It's that simple. Oh, you're African American? Well, Africa's a continent and America's a continent. And nobody on the planet calls themselves continents. So you're in error. So color of law applies to you. And color of law is choke you out on the corner, shoot you 50 times, you know, tell you that you owe $8 million in back taxes, right? All those stuff is color of law, right? Come to your house with some document they say is a court document and that it's a seal on it and that it's signed and all that stuff and it's just some photocopy that somebody got, right? Color of law, right? I'm telling you that you need a license to drive and a passport to travel and whatever, the color of law. But color of law applies to colored people. So we have to recognize that civics is what's going to get our people out of that colorable mindset that they have, that they think is legitimate. The mentality that they have that it doesn't matter what you call yourself. Well, it matters what you call yourself, because if you don't call yourself the right thing, color of law applies to you. And you can't complain after, because ignorance of the law is no excuse. And you can't say that you weren't told, because all these leaders, John Henry Clark, Ivan Van Sertima, Amos Wilson, um, even Dexter, Scott King, right? When you read that, you find out that they know about law and suing people and stuff like that, right? For abuses that happened and things of that nature, right? So once we realize, recognize, inner, under, and overstand that right now, 2014 is the time of the Moors right now, right? You know, we showed years ago, you know, Barack with the Moroccan flag in America, Hillary with the Moroccan flag in America. All these movies coming out talking about Moor, right? Um, you know, the whole J Electronica and all that. Most Def saying that he's a Moor. Talib rhyming about Moors. Nas rhyming about Moors, right? What's this new guy right now? Oh my gosh, what's his name? Chief something. Some rapper, freaking guy. He's coming out and he has some video on Vlad TV or whatever where he's talking about the judge told him when he got caught up in whatever, because he was playing the black stuff. Well, you know, I didn't know, and you know, you have to give me a break. And the judge said, ignorance of the law is no excuse, right? And then he went in to prison with that mentality. Now that we know ignorance of the law is no excuse, so hold on a second. So if I'm ignorant of the law and I can't use that as an excuse, then I better get competent in law ASAP. Yeah. Oh, so then he went to jail, but then he got his PhD in psychology in jail. So now he's coming out now, and then he's saying that, well, yo, you know, somebody might want to smoke some weed or whatever. Nah, I ain't smoking no weed around me, because that draws freaking those guys who they just kidnapped me and put me in. The judge told me that ignorance of no excuse. Well, you know what's in the car? Nah, because if you got the reefer in the car and the car smells, then that's probable cause. And they're gonna pull you over and kick your ass and do whatever. This is rapper guy, tattoos on his face and tattoos in here and whatever, all that stuff, talking about ignorance of the law is no excuse. And Negroes just but just press play. Don't worry, just press play. You don't need to hear no talking. Where's the music at? Right? And then those guys don't get it that, you know, forget selling records, put that stuff in songs. On these brainwashing beats that you got these people listening to have their pants down here. Right? How about that? Right? And once again, as usual, right? It wasn't a Negro that posted that. It wasn't a black guy that posted that. It wasn't a African, you know, black power fist up guy posted that. It was a Moor that posted that. Why? Because, you know, everybody wants to say, well, Moors hate this and Moors hate that. When Moors watch everything. Moors don't discriminate. You're not, well, I'm not going to watch that because of whatever. There's a European. You know what I mean? Or that's some rapper thing. Why am I going to watch that for? Moors watch everything, because Moors know that there's jewels everywhere.
Yeah, you never know.
There's jewels all over this place as far as information is concerned. And Moors know that anytime you can get any piece of information, and that is going to catapult you into some next galaxy. Right? Mentally. That you're going to be able to go there, get stuff, bring it back or whatever. Show off to the Moors. Like, yeah, we did it. Right? Just because it's that time right now. We're there. You know what I mean? You know when they say, the threshold? Okay, we're 5 miles past the threshold right now. Still thinking that, we gotta cross the threshold. When we cross the threshold, everything's gonna be whatever. Done crossed the threshold long time ago. Drew Ali did that in 1913. All we have to do is just take this man's program that he brought and implement it to the best of our ability. Once we are following his lesson that we have to think in order to save ourselves. You're not saving yourself if you're not thinking. And then if you're not studying, you won't be thinking, because studying is what activates the thinking. And then which activates the breath, which activates the heart, which lines up everything so that, we can be able to receive, quote unquote, God's grace. That nobody can receive because everybody all here is calcified and blocked up with so much psychic trauma and all this type of stuff. Aura's dirty that you can't receive anything. Right? Like people didn't check the plate. Like again, Sister Pilar talked about it. Go into meditation, go see somebody, right, who deals with Reiki and all this stuff like that, so they can actually look at your aura, right, and take stuff off your aura. Like, where's that person at? When we talk about go back to the mind of the ancient foremothers and forefathers, right? Where's that person at that's going to be able to see your aura? And not only see your aura, but see where the blotches are to give it,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Put stuff, make everything, nice and back in order. Because of all this madness that's going on out here. That, it appears we can't escape from because, it's just so much. But what is so much is so much niggers. That's what the problem is. Because that's the food. That's the energy. That's what the colonizer vampires, whatever, sucking on. So as we take the nigger mentality away, they have less food. As we take the nigger mentality away, they have less food, right? And then, like we're saying, people are waking up at such an alarming rate that the vampires, the zombies, them are turning on themselves now. They're not trying to infect everybody or whatever like that no more. They're turning on their own. Because, we crossed the threshold. And regardless of whether or not people accept it or believe it or not or whatever, they can't say that they weren't told. Right? They can't say they weren't told. So the obligation and the return of karma or whatever it is, right, is all on them. Why? Because active Moors, our hands are clean up in here, right? Our hands are clean up in here. We've been doing, and we just do what we do because we gotta do this. But we can't expect anybody else to do what Moors are supposed to do, right? So remember that 9:30, you got Eyes Wide Open, Moorish Heritage and History School blog talk radio show. So blogtalkradio.com, MHHS, Eyes Wide Open, and the call-in number 347-945-5899, 347-945-5899, and that's the place where you call in. If you got, stuff you want to talk about, writs, how to write writs, or what you could put in writs and stuff like that, that's the show you call in on, because you got Mizraim on there, we got Sister Anita on there, Cujo on there, Sister Raz on there. People calling in all the time, giving their little input or whatever, so good spot to be. All right? So Islam to all the Moors worldwide. Love you, Moors. Appreciate your support as usual and as always. If you do want to make donations, Canaanland Moors, the PayPal email is culturaleducators@gmail.com, culturaleducators@gmail.com. And of course, you know, with every donation, we send you a little thank you package, you know, so your donation is not in vain. And remember, you know, we gotta plug the book again. Individually, plenipotentiaries and the Negro Black Colored Addiction, right? It's not everything, but there's enough in there that you'll get some, you get a little something, so. All right, and also Iron Sheik Music, willofalah.com. Willofalah.com. I mean, in Islam to all the Moors, all the producers, MCs that assisted with that, because Moorish Master MC Iron Sheik 5 is in the mastering stage right now, so that should be coming soon time. So we say peace, love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We'll just close out with the prayer. And you know, get your little break before Blog Talk Show. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through His holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam. Ashe. Islam to all the Moors. Oh yeah, and if you have questions, Canaanland Guide @gmail.com. Send your questions. And of course, don't forget rvbaypublications.com, moorishciviletter.net, CIVILITTER, civil letter, moorishciviletter.net. We got the close out music right now. Islam, boys. See y'all in half hour.